Are you tired of being overlooked and taken advantage of? The audiobook, Stop Being Nice, Master the Art of Assertiveness, is your key to unlocking a more confident, respected version of yourself. Discover how to express your needs, navigate difficult conversations, and achieve your goals without compromising your values. This book offers a transformative journey from self-doubt to self-assurance, empowering you in both personal and professional spheres. Don't let life's opportunities slip away because you're too nice. It's time to claim the life you deserve, assertively. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Grow to the Top and activate notifications to receive more self-improvement tips that will supercharge your growth. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you for your support. Chapter 1. The Path to Assertiveness. Have you ever found yourself saying yes when you desperately wanted to say no, or remained silent when you had something important to contribute? If so, you're not alone. Many of us struggle with assertiveness, often mistaking it for aggression or fearing that it might damage our relationships. But what if I told you that mastering assertiveness could transform your life, leading to greater confidence, more fulfilling relationships, and unprecedented personal growth? This book is your guide to breaking free from the chains of excessive niceness and embracing your authentic, assertive self. As you embark on this journey, you'll discover powerful techniques to express your thoughts, feelings, and needs clearly and respectfully. You'll learn to set boundaries, say no without guilt, and navigate challenging conversations with grace and confidence. By the time you finish your first read-through, you'll have gained a clear understanding of what assertiveness truly means and how to apply it in your daily life. You'll be equipped with essential techniques to improve your communication skills and boost your self-confidence. But this is just the beginning. As you continue to practice and internalize these concepts, you'll find yourself developing lasting self-esteem and a strong sense of self-worth. Your personal and professional relationships will flourish as you learn to express yourself authentically and respect the needs of others. Assertiveness is not about dominating others or always getting your way. It's about finding the delicate balance between passivity and aggression. It's the art of expressing yourself clearly, directly, and respectfully while also considering the rights and feelings of others. By mastering assertiveness, you open doors to personal and professional growth that you might never have imagined possible. Many people mistakenly believe that being assertive leads to conflict or damages relationships. Nothing could be further from the truth. In reality, assertive behavior fosters open communication, mutual respect, and stronger connections. It allows you to express your needs and opinions while also listening to and valuing those of others. As you progress through this book, you'll discover how assertiveness can actually reduce conflict and lead to more harmonious interactions. The cost of being too nice is often higher than we realize. Constantly prioritizing others' needs over your own can lead to resentment, burnout, and a diminished sense of self-worth. People-pleasing might seem like a way to maintain harmony, but it often results in personal dissatisfaction and strained relationships. By learning to say no when necessary and setting healthy boundaries, you'll not only improve your own well-being, but also gain the respect of those around you. Breaking free from the limitations of excessive niceness requires self-awareness and a commitment to personal growth. Throughout this book, you'll be encouraged to reflect on your patterns of behavior and identify the barriers that have been holding you back. Recognizing these patterns is the first step towards changing them. Remember, transformation is possible, and the journey to assertiveness is one of the most rewarding paths you can embark upon. As we progress through the chapters, you'll be introduced to a series of essential techniques for developing assertiveness. Each technique builds upon the last, creating a comprehensive toolkit for navigating various social situations with confidence. From the fearless leap to the voice of the self, from the art of the dance to drawing a line in the sand, and finally mastering the steady beat, each step is carefully designed to address different aspects of assertive communication and behavior. The order in which these techniques are presented is intentional. We'll start by addressing the fundamental barriers to assertiveness before moving on to more advanced strategies. This progressive approach ensures that you build a strong foundation before tackling more complex scenarios. As you work through each technique, you'll see how they interconnect and reinforce one another, creating a holistic approach to assertiveness. In the chapters that follow, you'll find practical exercises and actionable advice to help you apply these techniques to your own life. Each chapter is designed to be both informative and engaging, providing you with the knowledge and motivation to make lasting changes. Remember, assertiveness is a skill that can be learned and improved with practice. The more you apply these techniques in your daily life, the more natural and effective they will become. As you embark on this journey, approach each chapter with an open mind and a willingness to challenge your existing beliefs and behaviors. Be patient with yourself as you learn and grow. Celebrate your successes, no matter how small, and learn from any setbacks you encounter. The path to assertiveness is not always easy, but the rewards are immeasurable. In the next chapter, we'll take our first step on this transformative journey. Prepare yourself for a leap that will challenge your perceptions and open up new possibilities. The path ahead may seem daunting, but remember, every great adventure begins with a single step. Are you ready to confront the fears that have been holding you back and discover the strength that lies within? Before we continue, I invite you to download the free bundle, which contains the ebook version of this book and an executive summary of all the chapters with the key takeaways. Studies show that engaging with content through multiple formats significantly enhances learning and retention. Click on the first link in the description to claim your free bundle now and maximize your learning potential. It's free for the first 50 people. Chapter 2, Fearless Leap. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff, your heart racing, palms sweating, and every instinct screaming at you to step back. Yet, somewhere deep inside, you feel an inexplicable urge to jump. This moment, this internal conflict, is precisely what we're about to explore in our journey towards assertiveness. The fearless leap isn't about reckless abandon or ignoring your fears. Instead, it's about acknowledging them, understanding their origins, and then taking that crucial step forward despite their presence. It's about recognizing that on the other side of that leap lies growth, empowerment, and a version of yourself you've always aspired to be. But why is this leap so crucial for mastering assertiveness? The answer lies in the very nature of assertiveness itself. To be assertive is to express yourself openly, to stand up for your rights, and to pursue your goals with confidence. However, for many of us, these actions are fraught with fear. Fear of confrontation, fear of rejection, fear of disappointing others. These are the invisible chains that often hold us back from being our true assertive selves. Think about the last time you wanted to express a differing opinion in a meeting but held back, or when you agreed to take on extra work even though you were already overwhelmed. In these moments, it wasn't a lack of knowledge or ability that held you back. It was fear. Fear of being judged, fear of conflict, fear of not being liked. These fears, often deeply ingrained, act as powerful barriers to assertive behavior. But here's the truth. These fears, while real and valid, are often based on misconceptions or past experiences that no longer serve us. They're like outdated software running in the background of our minds, influencing our decisions and behaviors in ways that don't align with who we truly want to be. To truly master assertiveness, we must first identify and understand these fears. It's time to shine a light on the shadows that have been holding us back. What are the specific fears that come up for you when you think about being more assertive? Is it the fear of confrontation, worrying that asserting yourself will lead to conflict? Or perhaps it's the fear of rejection, the worry that by expressing your true thoughts and feelings, others will push you away. For many, the fear of disappointing others looms large. We've been conditioned to prioritize others' happiness and comfort over our own, often at great personal cost. This fear can be particularly insidious, masquerading as kindness or selflessness, when in reality, it's a form of self-betrayal. As we delve deeper, we often find that these fears have roots in our past experiences and societal conditioning. Perhaps you were raised in an environment where expressing your needs was discouraged, or you've had negative experiences in the past when you tried to be assertive. Society, too, plays a role, often sending mixed messages about assertiveness, particularly to certain groups. Understanding the root of our fears is crucial because it allows us to see them for what they truly are, learned responses that can be unlearned. This realization is the first step in our fearless leap. It's the moment we start to question whether these fears are truly protecting us or holding us back from the life we want to lead. But knowledge alone isn't enough. To truly overcome these fears, we need to actively challenge and reframe the negative beliefs and thought patterns that sustain them. This is where cognitive restructuring comes into play. It's a powerful technique that involves identifying negative thought patterns, challenging their validity, and replacing them with more balanced, realistic thoughts. For example, if you find yourself thinking, "If I assert myself, people won't like me," challenge that thought. Is it really true that expressing your needs and opinions in a respectful way will make people dislike you? Or is it more likely that clear, honest communication will lead to stronger, more authentic relationships? Practice catching these negative thoughts as they arise and consciously reframing them. Over time, this process becomes more natural, and you'll find your fear-based thoughts have less power over you. But cognitive restructuring is just one tool in our arsenal. To truly make that fearless leap, we need to combine mental strategies with practical action. This is where gradual exposure comes in. The idea is simple, yet powerful. By gradually exposing ourselves to the situations we fear in a controlled and manageable way, we can build our courage and confidence over time. Start small. If the thought of expressing a contrary opinion in a large meeting terrifies you, begin by practicing with a trusted friend or in a smaller group setting. As you become more comfortable, gradually increase the challenge. Remember, courage isn't the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it. Visualization is another powerful tool. Spend time each day visualizing yourself handling challenging situations with confidence and grace. See yourself speaking up in that meeting, setting that boundary with a friend, or asking for that promotion. The more vividly you can imagine these scenarios, the more prepared you'll feel when facing them in real life. As you work on overcoming your fears, it's crucial to cultivate a growth mindset. This means viewing challenges not as threats, but as opportunities for learning and growth. Embrace the idea that your abilities and intelligence can be developed through effort, good strategies, and input from others. A growth mindset allows you to see setbacks not as failures, but as valuable feedback. It encourages you to step outside your comfort zone, knowing that even if things don't go perfectly, you'll have gained valuable experience and insight. Hand in hand with a growth mindset is the power of vulnerability. In our quest for assertiveness, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking we need to project an image of unwavering strength and confidence. But true strength often lies in acknowledging our vulnerabilities. Being vulnerable, admitting when we're unsure, asking for help when we need it, expressing our true feelings can be incredibly powerful. It fosters genuine connections, builds trust, and paradoxically makes us appear more confident and self-assured. Remember, assertiveness isn't about being perfect or always having the right answer. It's about being authentic and expressing yourself honestly, even when it feels uncomfortable. As we near the end of this chapter, it's time to put these concepts into practice. Start by identifying one fear that's been holding you back from being more assertive. It could be the fear of speaking up in meetings, the fear of saying no to requests, or the fear of expressing your true feelings in a relationship. Now, think about a small, manageable step you could take to face this fear. Remember, we're not aiming for a giant leap here, just a small step outside your comfort zone. It might be as simple as expressing a preference about where to go for lunch with colleagues, or politely declining an invitation to an event you don't want to attend. Commit to taking this small step within the next week. As you do, pay attention to your thoughts and feelings. Notice the fear, acknowledge it, but don't let it stop you. After you've taken this step, reflect on the experience. What did you learn? How did it feel? Often, we find that the anticipation of these feared situations is far worse than the reality. As you continue to practice these fearless leaps, you'll start to notice changes. Interactions that once filled you with dread become manageable, even enjoyable. You'll find yourself speaking up more, setting clearer boundaries, and feeling more authentic in your relationships. These are the first signs of your growing assertiveness. But what about when things don't go as planned? It's important to remember that setbacks are a normal part of any growth process. Perhaps you set a boundary and it wasn't respected, or you spoke up in a meeting and didn't get the response you hoped for. In these moments, resist the urge to retreat back into old patterns. Instead, view these setbacks as valuable learning experiences. What can you learn from the situation? How might you approach it differently next time? Remember, each setback is building your resilience and providing you with valuable insights that will serve you well on your assertiveness journey. The path to assertiveness through overcoming fear is not always smooth or straightforward. There will be times when you feel like you're making great progress, and other times when you feel like you're back at square one. This is normal and expected. The key is to maintain your commitment to growth and keep taking those small steps forward, even when it feels challenging. As we conclude this chapter, take a moment to reflect on the fearless leap you're embarking on. By facing your fears and challenging the beliefs that have held you back, you're not just becoming more assertive, you're becoming more authentically you. You're creating space for your true self to emerge and thrive. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate fear entirely. That's neither possible nor desirable. Instead, we're learning to coexist with our fears, to acknowledge them without being controlled by them. We're developing the courage to act in alignment with our values and desires, even when fear is present. As you move forward, carry with you the tools and insights from this chapter. Continue to practice cognitive restructuring, gradual exposure, and vulnerability. Embrace a growth mindset and view each challenge as an opportunity for learning and development. In our next chapter, we'll explore a powerful technique that will help you express yourself more clearly and effectively. It's a tool that, when mastered, can transform the way you communicate and interact with others. But for now, let the echoes of your fearless leap resonate within you. What whispers of authenticity are starting to emerge? What new possibilities are you beginning to see? The journey to assertiveness is just beginning, and the path ahead is rich with potential. Are you ready to find your voice? Chapter 3, Voice of the Self. As we embark on this chapter, imagine yourself standing before a mirror. You see your reflection, but do you truly hear your voice? Not the physical sound that echoes in a room, but the inner voice that carries your thoughts, feelings, and needs. This inner voice is the essence of who you are, yet for many of us, it often goes unheard, not just by others, but by ourselves as well. The voice of the self is about reconnecting with this inner voice and learning to express it clearly and assertively. It's about finding the courage to speak your truth, not in a whisper, but with confidence and clarity. But how do we give voice to our authentic selves in a way that others can hear and understand? The answer lies in a powerful communication tool that we'll explore throughout this chapter. It's a method of expression that puts you at the center of your communication, allowing you to speak your truth without placing blame or causing defensiveness in others. This tool is deceptively simple, yet profoundly impactful when mastered. But before we reveal this tool, let's consider why finding our voice is so crucial for assertiveness. Effective communication is the cornerstone of assertiveness. Without it, our needs go unmet, our boundaries get crossed, and our relationships suffer. When we can't express ourselves clearly, we often resort to passive or aggressive communication styles, neither of which serve us well in the long run. Think about a time when you felt misunderstood or unheard. Perhaps you had an important point to make in a meeting, but couldn't find the right words. Or maybe you were in a disagreement with a loved one, and no matter how hard you tried, you couldn't seem to get your point across without the conversation devolving into an argument. These moments of miscommunication can leave us feeling frustrated, isolated, and powerless. But what if there was a way to express yourself that naturally reduced defensiveness in others? A way to speak your truth that invited understanding rather than argument. This is where our communication tool comes into play. It's a method of self-expression that puts the focus squarely on you, your feelings, your experiences, your needs, without making assumptions about or accusations towards others. This tool is the I statement. At its core, an I statement is exactly what it sounds like, a statement that begins with I. But it's so much more than just starting a sentence with a particular pronoun. It's a complete shift in how we approach communication. Consider the difference between these two statements. You never listen to me. I feel unheard when we're talking. Both statements express frustration about not being listened to, but they do so in vastly different ways. The first statement, beginning with you, is accusatory. It places blame on the other person and is likely to put them on the defensive. The second statement, an I statement, expresses the same frustration but does so by focusing on the speaker's experience. It's not an attack, it's an expression of personal feeling. This subtle shift can have a profound impact on our communications. By using I statements, we take ownership of our feelings and experiences. We're not making assumptions about the other person's intentions or actions. Instead, we're simply stating our truth. The power of I statements lies in their ability to reduce defensiveness and promote clarity. When we use I statements, we're not attacking or blaming. We're simply sharing our perspective, our feelings, our needs. This approach invites dialogue rather than debate. It opens the door for understanding and collaboration. Moreover, I statements encourage us to take personal responsibility for our emotions and reactions. Instead of placing the responsibility for our feelings on others, you make me angry, we acknowledge that our emotions are our own. I feel angry when. This shift in perspective is empowering. It reminds us that while we can't control others' actions, we can control our responses. But crafting effective I statements is more than just starting sentences with I. There's an art to it, a structure that, when followed, can make our communications even more impactful. A well-crafted I statement typically includes three components: a feeling, a specific behavior, and the effect of that behavior on you. For example, I feel frustrated feeling when interruptions occur during our meetings, specific behavior, because it makes it difficult for me to focus and contribute effectively, effect. This structure allows us to express ourselves fully without making accusations. It provides context for our feelings and clearly articulates the impact of certain behaviors on us. This clarity can be invaluable in both personal and professional settings. However, even with this structure, there are pitfalls to avoid. One common mistake is using I statements that are actually disguised you statements. For instance, I feel that you're being inconsiderate is not a true I statement. It's still placing blame and making an assumption about the other person's intentions. Another pitfall is overusing I statements to the point where they become formulaic or insincere. The goal is authentic communication, not rigid adherence to a formula. As you become more comfortable with I statements, you'll find ways to incorporate them naturally into your speech. Mastering self-expression through I statements is about more than just following a formula. It's about developing the ability to articulate your feelings and needs confidently and authentically. This requires self-awareness and practice. Start by paying attention to your emotions throughout the day. Can you name what you're feeling? Can you identify what triggered that feeling? As you become more attuned to your emotions, practice expressing them out loud, even if it's just to yourself at first. I feel anxious about this upcoming presentation. I'm feeling proud of the work I did on this project. The more you practice, the more natural it will become to express your feelings and needs in the moment. Remember, the goal of I statements and assertive communication in general is not to win arguments or to always get your way. It's about creating understanding, fostering empathy and building stronger relationships. When we speak from our own experience, we invite others to do the same. This can lead to deeper, more meaningful connections and more effective problem solving. Of course, using I statements in real-life situations can be challenging, especially at first. You might face resistance or misunderstanding. Some people, accustomed to more aggressive or passive communication styles, might not know how to respond to your newfound assertiveness. In these moments, it's important to stay calm and composed. Remember, you're not responsible for others' reactions to your assertive communication. Your job is simply to express yourself clearly and respectfully. If you face resistance, you might say something like, "I'm trying to express my feelings clearly. Can you tell me what you heard me say?" This can help clarify any misunderstandings and reinforce your commitment to open, honest communication. As you continue to practice using I statements, you'll likely notice changes in your interactions. Conversations that once devolved into arguments might become opportunities for understanding and problem solving. You may find that people are more willing to listen to you and consider your perspective. Your relationships, both personal and professional, may become more authentic and satisfying. But what about when things don't go as planned? What if, despite your best efforts, your I statements are met with hostility or dismissal? First, remember that you can't control others' reactions. Your assertive communication is a success simply because you expressed yourself honestly and respectfully. If you find yourself in a situation where your attempts at assertive communication are consistently rebuffed or ignored, it might be time to reevaluate the relationship or situation. Remember, assertiveness is about respecting both yourself and others. If others consistently fail to show you the same respect you're extending to them, it may be time to set firmer boundaries or seek support. As we near the end of this chapter, take a moment to reflect on your communication style. How often do you truly express your feelings and needs? How often do you use I statements versus you statements? Consider choosing one relationship or area of your life where you'd like to implement more I statements. It could be with a partner, a colleague, or even with yourself in your internal dialogue. Start small. Perhaps commit to using one genuine I statement each day in this chosen area. Pay attention to how it feels to express yourself this way and to how others respond. Remember, change takes time. Be patient with yourself as you develop this new skill. The journey to finding and expressing your authentic voice is ongoing. Each time you use an I statement, each time you express your feelings and needs clearly and assertively, you're strengthening your voice. You're becoming more fully yourself. As we close this chapter, I invite you to carry the voice of your authentic self with you. Let it guide you in your interactions. Let it empower you to speak your truth. In our next chapter, we'll explore a technique that will take your assertive communication to the next level. It's a method that will help you navigate even the most challenging conversations with grace and confidence. But for now, listen closely. What is your inner voice telling you? What truths are waiting to be expressed? The dance of assertive communication is about to begin, and your voice is the music that will guide your steps. Chapter 4, The Art of the Dance. Imagine yourself on a dance floor. The music starts, and you begin to move. But this isn't just any dance. It's a carefully choreographed routine, each step purposeful and precise. As you move, you're not just expressing yourself, you're also responding to and guiding your partner. This dance is a delicate balance of leading and following, of self-expression and attunement to others. This image of a dance is a perfect metaphor for the communication technique we're about to explore. Just as a well-executed dance requires structure, practice, and adaptability, so too does effective assertive communication. In this chapter, we'll learn about a powerful method that will help you navigate even the most challenging conversations with the grace and precision of a skilled dancer. But what makes this particular dance so special? Why is it crucial for mastering assertiveness? The answer lies in its ability to provide a clear structure for our communications while still allowing for flexibility and responsiveness. This technique gives us a framework, a set of steps to follow that ensures we express ourselves fully and assertively while also maintaining respect for others and openness to their perspectives. Think about the last time you were in a difficult conversation. Perhaps you were trying to express a need that wasn't being met or addressing a conflict at work. How did it go? If you're like many people, you might have found yourself stumbling over your words, getting sidetracked, or becoming emotional. Maybe you said things you later regretted or walked away feeling like you hadn't truly expressed what you wanted to say. Now imagine having a clear roadmap for these conversations, a step-by-step guide that ensures you cover all the important points, express yourself clearly, and work towards a positive outcome. This is exactly what our communication technique provides. So what is this magical technique? It's called Dear Man, and it's a powerful tool in the Assertiveness Toolkit. But before we break down what each letter stands for, let's talk about why this structured approach to communication is so effective. When we're in challenging or emotional situations, it's easy to lose track of what we want to say. We might get caught up in the heat of the moment, forget important points, or struggle to articulate our needs clearly. A structured approach like Dear Man helps us stay on track. It ensures we cover all the important aspects of assertive communication, from clearly describing the situation to reinforcing the positive outcomes of cooperation. Moreover, having a structure to follow can help us feel more confident in difficult conversations. When we know what steps to take, we're less likely to feel overwhelmed or tongue-tied. This confidence comes across in our communication, making our message more impactful and persuasive. But Dear Man isn't just about getting our point across. It's also about building and maintaining relationships. By following this structured approach, we ensure that we're communicating in a way that's respectful and considerate of others, even as we assert our own needs and perspectives. This balance is crucial for effective assertiveness. So let's break down what Dear Man actually stands for. Each letter represents a key component of assertive communication. D stands for describe. This is where we objectively describe the situation or behavior that's concerning us without blame or judgment. It's about stating facts, not opinions or emotions. E is for express. Here, we share our feelings and opinions about the situation. This is where those I statements we learned about in the previous chapter come into play. A stands for assert. This is where we clearly state what we want or need. It's about being direct and specific about our desired outcome. R is for reinforce. In this step, we explain the positive effects of getting what we've asked for, or the negative consequences if our needs aren't met. M stands for mindful. This reminds us to stay focused on our goals and not get sidetracked by unrelated issues or provocations. A is for appear confident. This involves using confident body language and tone of voice to reinforce our message. N stands for negotiate. This final step involves being willing to compromise and find mutually acceptable solutions. Let's look at each of these components in more detail. When we describe the situation, the key is to stick to observable facts. Instead of saying, "You're always late," which is a judgment, we might say, "This is the third time this week you've arrived 15 minutes after our agreed meeting time." This objective description is harder to argue with and less likely to put the other person on the defensive. Expressing our thoughts and feelings about the situation is where we get to share our personal perspective. This is where those I statements really shine. I feel frustrated and disrespected when meetings start late. Notice how this expresses the emotion without blaming the other person. Asserting what we want is about being clear and specific. I want our meetings to start on time. There's no ambiguity here. We're stating exactly what we need. Reinforcing involves explaining why our request is reasonable and beneficial. If we start on time, we'll be able to cover all our agenda items and finish on schedule, which will help everyone manage their time better. Being mindful means staying focused on our goal and not getting pulled into unrelated arguments or issues. If the other person tries to bring up past incidents or unrelated topics, we gently but firmly bring the conversation back to the current issue. Appearing confident is about matching our nonverbal cues to our words. This means maintaining eye contact, speaking clearly and at a measured pace, and using open body language. Even if we don't feel confident, acting as if we are can help us communicate more effectively. Finally, negotiating shows that we're willing to work together to find a solution. I understand that traffic can be unpredictable. Would it help if we moved our meeting time 15 minutes later? This demonstrates flexibility and a willingness to consider the other person's needs as well as our own. Now, you might be thinking that this seems like a lot to remember in the heat of the moment. And you're right. Like any skill, using Dear Man effectively takes practice. But the more you use it, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, you'll find yourself automatically following these steps in your communications, much like an experienced dancer who no longer needs to count the beats but simply flows with the music. One of the great things about Dear Man is its versatility. It can be used in a wide variety of situations, from addressing issues in personal relationships to negotiating in professional settings. Let's look at a couple of examples to see how this might play out in real life. Imagine you're dealing with a roommate who frequently leaves dirty dishes in the sink. Using Dear Man, you might approach the conversation like this. I've noticed that there are often dirty dishes left in the sink overnight. I feel frustrated when I come into the kitchen in the morning and can't easily make breakfast. I'd like for us to agree that dishes will be washed or put in the dishwasher the same day they're used. Assert. If we do this, the kitchen will be cleaner and more pleasant for both of us, and we'll avoid attracting pests. You'd then stay focused on this issue, mindful, use confident body language and tone, appear confident, and be open to discussing solutions that work for both of you, negotiate. Or consider a professional scenario where you're asking for a raise. I've been in my current position for 2 years now, and in that time, I've taken on additional responsibilities, including managing the new client onboarding process. I'm proud of the work I've done and the value I've added to the team. I believe my compensation should reflect these increased responsibilities, and I'd like to discuss a 10% raise. This raise would reflect the additional value I'm bringing to the company and would motivate me to continue taking on new challenges. Again, you'd stay focused on your contributions and the value you bring, mindful, maintain confident body language, appear confident, and be open to discussing alternative forms of compensation or a plan for future increases. Negotiate. Of course, real-life conversations are rarely as smooth as these examples. You might face resistance, counter-arguments, or attempts to change the subject. This is where the dance aspect of Dear Man really comes into play. Just as a skilled dancer can adapt to changes in the music or their partner's movements, you'll need to be flexible in your application of Dear Man. If you face resistance, stay calm and return to the steps. You might need to describe the situation again, perhaps with more detail, or you might need to express your feelings more clearly. If the other person becomes defensive, remember to use I statements and focus on your own experiences rather than making accusations. If the conversation gets off track, use the mindful step to bring it back to the main issue. I understand you have concerns about X, but right now I'd like to focus on the issue of Y. Be prepared to repeat your assert step if necessary, restating what you want or need. Remember, the goal of Dear Man isn't to win the conversation or to force others to do what we want. It's about expressing ourselves clearly and assertively, while also being open to the other person's perspective and working towards mutually beneficial solutions. It's a dance of communication with give and take on both sides. As you practice using Dear Man, you'll likely notice improvements in your communications. You may find that you're able to express your needs more clearly and that others are more receptive to your requests. You might experience less conflict and more productive problem-solving in your interactions. But what if things don't go as planned? What if, despite your best efforts, the other person remains uncooperative or the conversation becomes heated? First, Remember that you can't control others' reactions, only your own behavior. If you've communicated assertively using "Dear Man," you've done your part. If the conversation isn't productive, it's okay to take a step back. You might say something like, "I can see we're not making progress right now. I'd like to pause this discussion and come back to it when we've both had a chance to think things over." This shows that you're still committed to finding a solution, but recognizes that sometimes we need time to process and reflect. As we wrap up this chapter, I encourage you to start incorporating "Dear Man" into your communications. Start small. Perhaps choose one upcoming conversation where you can practice using this technique. Pay attention to how it feels to communicate this way and to how others respond. Remember, mastering the art of this communication dance takes time and practice. Be patient with yourself as you learn. Celebrate the times when you successfully use "Dear Man" and reflect on areas where you can improve. With each conversation, you're becoming more skilled, more assertive, more authentically you. As we move forward, we'll explore another crucial aspect of assertiveness. It's a skill that will help you maintain your assertive stance even in the face of pressure or manipulation. But for now, let the rhythm of "Dear Man" guide your communications. What conversations have you been avoiding? What needs have gone unexpressed? The dance floor of assertive communication is open, and it's time for you to take the lead. Chapter 5, Line in the Sand. Imagine walking along a pristine beach, the soft sand beneath your feet, the rhythmic sound of waves in your ears. As you stroll, you notice something intriguing, a line drawn in the sand. It's not particularly deep or wide, yet it stands out, a clear demarcation between two areas of the beach. This simple line, easily drawn yet powerfully symbolic, is much like the concept we're about to explore in our journey towards assertiveness. In our quest to master assertiveness, we've learned to leap fearlessly, to find our voice, and to dance through difficult conversations. Now, we turn our attention to a skill that's both subtle and profound, the art of drawing lines. But what exactly do we mean by drawing lines? And why is this skill so crucial in our assertiveness toolkit? To understand this, let's return to our beach analogy. That line in the sand, as simple as it may seem, serves a purpose. It defines a space, creates a boundary. In the realm of personal interactions and relationships, we too need to draw lines, invisible yet important boundaries that define our personal space, our limits, and our values. These boundaries are not walls meant to shut others out, but rather clear demarcations of where we end and others begin. They are assertions of our individuality, our needs, and our right to self-determination. In essence, they are the very foundation of assertiveness. But why are these boundaries so critical? Think about a time when you felt overwhelmed, taken advantage of, or resentful in a relationship, whether personal or professional. Chances are, these feelings stemmed from a lack of clear boundaries. Perhaps you found yourself constantly saying yes to requests when you really wanted to say no. Or maybe you allowed others to treat you in ways that made you uncomfortable, all in the name of being nice or avoiding conflict. These scenarios highlight the importance of boundaries in maintaining our well-being and self-respect. Without clear boundaries, we risk losing ourselves in the demands and expectations of others. We become chameleons, constantly changing to fit what we think others want from us, rather than standing firm in who we are and what we need. The consequences of not setting and enforcing boundaries can be severe. Chronic stress, burnout, resentment, and a loss of self-esteem are just a few of the potential outcomes. Over time, a lack of boundaries can lead to damaged relationships as unexpressed needs and unresolved conflicts simmer beneath the surface. So how do we begin to draw these crucial lines in the sand? The first step is recognizing when a boundary is needed. This requires a certain level of self-awareness and attunement to our own feelings and needs. Pay attention to situations that leave you feeling drained, frustrated, or uncomfortable. These are often signs that a boundary is being crossed or needs to be established. One of the most common areas where boundaries are needed is in our ability to say no. Many of us struggle with this simple word, fearing that we'll disappoint others, appear selfish, or miss out on opportunities. But consider this. Every time you say yes to something you don't really want to do, you're saying no to something else, often to your own needs, desires, or well-being. The impact of saying yes when we mean no goes beyond just the immediate discomfort. It sets a precedent, teaching others that our boundaries are flexible or non-existent. It sends a message that our time, energy, and needs are less important than pleasing others. Over time, this can lead to erosion of self-respect and a pattern of being taken advantage of. So how do we break this pattern? How do we learn to say no clearly and respectfully without guilt? The key lies in understanding that no is a complete sentence. You don't need to justify, explain, or apologize for your refusal. That being said, there are ways to soften the delivery of a no without weakening its message. One effective technique is the sandwich method. Start with a positive statement, deliver your refusal, and then end with another positive. For example, I appreciate you thinking of me for this project. Unfortunately, I won't be able to take it on at this time. I hope the project goes well, and please keep me in mind for future opportunities. Another strategy is to offer an alternative or a compromise. I can't commit to the full-day event, but I'd be happy to stop by for an hour in the afternoon. This shows that you're willing to contribute, just not in the exact way that was asked. Remember, saying no doesn't make you a bad person. In fact, it's an act of honesty and respect, both for yourself and for the other person. By saying no to things that don't align with your values or current capacity, you're saying yes to what truly matters to you. Of course, setting boundaries isn't always as simple as saying no. Sometimes we face pressure or manipulation from others who are used to us being compliant. Recognizing these tactics is the first step in resisting them. Common pressure tactics include guilt tripping, "After all I've done for you," intimidation, "If you don't do this, you'll regret it," or false urgency, "I need an answer right now." When faced with such tactics, it's important to stay calm and composed. Remind yourself that you have the right to set boundaries, regardless of others' reactions. You might respond with phrases like, "I understand this is important to you, but my decision stands," or "I need time to consider this. I'll get back to you by specific time." Maintaining and reinforcing boundaries is an ongoing process. It's not enough to set a boundary once. We need to consistently uphold it. This can be challenging, especially if others are used to us being more permissive. But remember, every time you reinforce a boundary, you're strengthening it. When faced with repeated boundary violations, it's important to be clear and firm. Use I statements to express how the violation affects you, and clearly state the consequence if the boundary continues to be disrespected. For example, "I feel disrespected when you show up late to our meetings. If this continues, I'll need to reconsider our working arrangement." As you become more adept at setting and maintaining boundaries, you'll likely encounter a new challenge: balancing assertiveness with empathy. It's important to remember that being assertive doesn't mean being insensitive to others' needs. The goal is to find a balance where you can honor your own boundaries while still being compassionate towards others. This balance comes from understanding that everyone has their own needs and boundaries. Just as you're learning to express and uphold your boundaries, others are navigating their own. Approaching boundary setting with this mindset can help you communicate your needs more effectively and respond with understanding when others express theirs. To put these concepts into practice, try this exercise. Identify 3 situations in your life where you feel a boundary needs to be set or reinforced. For each situation, write down what specific boundary you want to establish, why it's important to you, and how you'll communicate it. Then, practice delivering your boundary statement out loud. Pay attention to your tone, body language, and any feelings that come up as you do this. As you implement these boundary-setting techniques, you'll likely start to notice changes in your life and relationships. In the best-case scenario, you'll experience a newfound sense of personal autonomy and self-respect. Your relationships may become more authentic and satisfying as you and others learn to communicate needs and expectations clearly. You might find that you have more energy and less stress as you're no longer overextending yourself or suppressing your own needs. Your self-esteem may improve as you honor your own values and limits. In professional settings, clear boundaries can lead to increased respect from colleagues and a better work-life balance. However, it's important to be prepared for challenges along the way. Some people, accustomed to your previous boundary-less behavior, may push back or react negatively when you start asserting yourself. You might feel guilty or anxious about saying no or setting limits, especially at first. If you encounter resistance, remind yourself why you're setting this boundary. Stay firm, but also be willing to engage in open dialogue about needs and expectations. If someone repeatedly disrespects your boundaries despite clear communication, you may need to reassess the relationship and consider creating more distance. Remember, setting boundaries is a skill, and like any skill, it improves with practice. Be patient with yourself as you learn and grow. Celebrate the times when you successfully uphold a boundary and reflect on situations where you struggled. Each experience is an opportunity to refine your approach and strengthen your assertiveness muscles. As we conclude this chapter, take a moment to reflect on the lines you want to draw in your life. What boundaries have you been hesitant to set? What lines need to be redrawn or reinforced? Remember, these lines in the sand are not barriers to connection, but rather the foundation for healthier, more authentic relationships with others and with yourself. In our next chapter, we'll explore a powerful technique that will help you maintain your assertive stance even in the face of persistent pressure or manipulation. It's a skill that, when mastered, can make you unshakable in your resolve. But for now, consider this. What would your life look like if you honored your boundaries as consistently as the tide honors the shoreline? The power to shape your interactions and protect your well-being lies within you. Are you ready to draw your line in the sand? Chapter 6, Steady Beat. Imagine you're at a concert. The music starts, and you find yourself captivated by the rhythm. It's not just any rhythm, it's a steady, persistent beat that forms the backbone of the entire performance. This beat doesn't waver or fade, it remains constant, driving the music forward, providing a foundation for all the other elements of the song. This steady beat, so crucial in music, has a powerful parallel in the world of assertive communication. Just as a consistent rhythm can carry a song, a certain type of persistence can carry your message, ensuring it's heard and understood, even in the face of resistance or distraction. But what exactly is this steady beat in assertive communication, and why is it so important in mastering assertiveness? To understand this, let's consider a common scenario. You've set a boundary, expressed a need, or made a request using all the assertiveness skills we've discussed so far. You've been clear, respectful, and firm. But what happens when the other person doesn't listen? What if they try to change the subject, make excuses, or simply ignore what you've said? This is where our steady beat comes into play. It's a technique that allows you to maintain your position, repeat your message, and stay focused on your goal, regardless of the other person's attempts to derail the conversation. This technique is known as the broken record, and it's a powerful tool in the assertiveness toolkit. The broken record technique gets its name from the days of vinyl records. When a record was scratched or broken, it would often repeat the same phrase over and over again. In assertive communication, we harness this concept of repetition to our advantage. The idea is simple, yet powerful. You choose a key phrase or statement that expresses your position, and you repeat it calmly and firmly, regardless of the other person's responses or attempts to sidetrack the conversation. But why is this repetition so effective? In our fast-paced world of constant communication and information overload, messages often get lost or misunderstood. The broken record technique cuts through this noise. By consistently repeating your message, you ensure that it's heard and understood. You're not allowing room for misinterpretation or evasion. Moreover, this technique helps you maintain your focus and composure in challenging conversations. When faced with resistance or manipulation, it's easy to get flustered, lose track of your point, or be drawn into unproductive arguments. The broken record technique gives you an anchor. No matter how the conversation twists and turns, you have a clear, consistent message to return to. This persistence sends a powerful message in itself. It communicates that you're serious about your position, that you won't be easily swayed or distracted. It shows that you respect yourself and your needs enough to stand firm. This can be particularly effective when dealing with people who are used to you giving in or when facing manipulative tactics designed to make you doubt yourself. But the broken record technique isn't about being robotic or inflexible. It's not about ignoring the other person or refusing to engage in dialogue. Rather, it's about maintaining clarity and focus in your communication. You're still listening, still acknowledging what the other person is saying, but you're not allowing their responses to derail you from your main point. So how do we implement this technique effectively? The first step is crafting your core message. This is the statement you'll be repeating, so it needs to be clear, concise, and directly related to your goal. For example, if you're turning down an extra project at work, your core message might be, "I appreciate the offer, but my current workload doesn't allow me to take on additional projects right now." The key is to keep your statement simple and focused. Avoid long explanations or justifications. These can give the other person more points to argue against or attempt to manipulate. Your core message should stand on its own, expressing your position clearly and succinctly. Once you have your core message, the next step is to practice delivering it calmly and confidently. Your tone of voice is crucial here. Aim for a neutral, matter-of-fact tone. You're not angry or defensive. You're simply stating your position. Practice in front of a mirror or with a trusted friend until you can deliver your message smoothly and naturally. Now, let's consider how to use the broken record technique in a conversation. Let's say you've delivered your core message about not taking on additional work. The other person might respond with various arguments or tactics. They might try to guilt you, but the team really needs your help on this. You respond, "I understand the team's needs, but my current workload doesn't allow me to take on additional projects right now." They might attempt to minimize your concerns. "It won't take much of your time." You respond, "I appreciate that, but my current workload doesn't allow me to take on additional projects right now." They might try to appeal to your ego. "We really need your expertise on this." You respond, "I'm flattered you value my input, but my current workload doesn't allow me to take on additional projects right now." Notice how in each response, you briefly acknowledge what they've said, showing that you're listening and engaged, but then you return to your core message. This is the essence of the broken record technique. You're not ignoring the other person, but you're also not getting drawn into debates or explanations that might weaken your position. One of the challenges in using this technique is maintaining your composure, especially if the other person becomes frustrated or tries to provoke an emotional response. Remember, your calm persistence is your strength. If you feel yourself getting annoyed or flustered, take a deep breath and remind yourself of your goal. Your steady emotional state will often have a calming effect on the overall interaction. It's also important to be prepared for common objections or challenges. Think about the typical responses you might get and practice how you'll steer the conversation back to your core message. This preparation will help you feel more confident and less likely to be caught off guard. Let's practice applying the broken record technique in a different scenario. Imagine you're dealing with a pushy salesperson who keeps trying to upsell you on a product you don't want. Your core message might be, "Thank you, but I'm only interested in the basic model. But for just a little more, you can get all these extra features." I appreciate you showing me the options, but I'm only interested in the basic model. You'll regret not getting these features later. I understand your perspective, but I'm only interested in the basic model. Everyone's upgrading these days. You don't want to be left behind, do you? I'm sure the upgrades are popular, but I'm only interested in the basic model. By consistently returning to your core message, you're making it clear that you've made your decision and aren't going to be swayed by sales tactics. This persistence often leads to the other person accepting your position more quickly than if you engaged in a back-and-forth debate about each point they raise. As you practice the broken record technique, you'll likely find that it becomes easier and more natural over time. You might even start to feel a sense of empowerment as you realize how effectively you can maintain your position in challenging conversations. But what about the potential downsides or challenges of this technique? One common concern is that it might come across as stubborn or uncooperative. This is where the delivery becomes crucial. By maintaining a calm, respectful tone and briefly acknowledging the other person's points before restating your position, you demonstrate that you're engaged in the conversation, not just stonewalling. Another potential issue is knowing when to stop. The broken record technique is powerful, but it's not meant to be used indefinitely. If you've repeated your message several times and the other person is still not accepting it, it might be time to end the conversation. You might say something like, "I've explained my position clearly, and it hasn't changed. I don't think continuing this conversation will be productive right now." Remember, the goal of assertive communication isn't to win arguments or force others to agree with you. It's about expressing your needs and boundaries clearly and respectfully. The broken record technique is a tool to help you do that effectively, even in challenging situations. As you incorporate this technique into your assertiveness toolkit, you'll likely see improvements in various areas of your life. You might find it easier to maintain boundaries at work, resist peer pressure in social situations, or stand firm in negotiations. You may notice that people take your no more seriously and that you feel more confident in expressing your needs and opinions. In the best-case scenario, consistent use of the broken record technique can lead to more respectful interactions, clearer communication, and a stronger sense of self. People may come to understand that when you express a position, you mean it, leading to fewer attempts to push your boundaries or change your mind. However, it's important to be prepared for potential negative reactions, especially from people who are used to you being more pliable. Some may become frustrated or accuse you of being difficult. In these situations, remind yourself that you have the right to maintain your position and that their frustration is not your responsibility to fix. As we wrap up this chapter, I encourage you to start identifying situations in your life where the broken record technique could be useful. What are some scenarios where you often find yourself swayed from your original position? What core messages might you craft for these situations? Practice delivering these messages in a mirror or with a trusted friend. Pay attention to your tone of voice and body language. Remember, the goal is to be calm, clear, and consistent. As you become more comfortable with this technique, you'll find it becomes a natural part of your communication style, a steady beat that carries your message clearly and assertively. In our next chapter, we'll explore a final crucial aspect of assertiveness. It's a quality that ties together everything we've learned so far, allowing you to navigate even the most challenging interactions with grace and confidence. But for now, let the rhythm of the broken record technique resonate within you. What messages have you been struggling to convey? What truths have been drowned out by the noise of others' expectations or manipulations? Your steady beat is waiting to be heard. Are you ready to let it play? Chapter 7, Your Assertive Future. As we stand at the threshold of this final chapter, take a moment to reflect on the journey we've undertaken together. From the initial fearless leap to finding your voice, from mastering the art of communication to drawing lines in the sand and maintaining a steady beat, you've equipped yourself with a powerful set of tools for assertiveness. But our journey doesn't end here. In fact, in many ways, it's just beginning. This chapter is about looking forward, about envisioning and creating your assertive future. It's about taking all that you've learned and weaving it into the fabric of your daily life. It's about transforming from someone who knows about assertiveness to someone who embodies it. Let's start by revisiting the key strategies we've explored. Remember the fearless leap? That crucial first step of facing your fears and embracing change. This courage continues to be the foundation of your assertive journey. Every time you choose to speak up, to set a boundary, to stand firm in your convictions, you're taking that leap again. Then there's the voice of the self, where you learn to use I statements to express your thoughts and feelings clearly and directly. This technique remains your go-to tool for clear, non-confrontational communication. It's the difference between "you're always late" and "I feel frustrated when meetings don't start on time." We explored the art of the dance with the Dear Man technique, giving you a structured approach to navigate complex conversations. This dance of assertive communication, describing the situation, expressing your feelings, asserting your needs, and reinforcing the benefits, continues to be your choreography for important discussions. The line in the sand taught you the importance of setting and maintaining boundaries. This skill is your protective shield, ensuring that you honor your own needs and values while respecting those of others. It's what allows you to say no without guilt and yes with genuine enthusiasm. And let's not forget the steady beat, the broken record technique that allows you to maintain your position in the face of resistance or manipulation. This steady rhythm of assertiveness keeps you focused and consistent, even when others try to throw you off beat. These techniques aren't meant to be used in isolation. They work together, supporting and enhancing each other. The art of assertiveness lies in knowing which tool to use in which situation and how to blend them seamlessly in your interactions. But knowledge alone isn't enough. To truly master assertiveness, you need to put these skills into practice consistently. This is where your assertiveness action plan comes in. Take some time to set personal goals for your assertive behavior. Maybe you want to speak up more in meetings at work, or set clearer boundaries in your personal relationships. Perhaps you want to negotiate a raise, or simply get better at saying no to requests that don't align with your priorities. Whatever your goals, be specific. Instead of "I want to be more assertive," try "I will use I statements to express my feelings in difficult conversations at least 3 times this week." Create a practice schedule for yourself. Commit to using one assertiveness technique each day, or set aside time each week to reflect on your progress and plan for upcoming challenging situations. Remember, becoming assertive is a process, not a destination. There will be setbacks along the way. You might find yourself slipping back into old passive or aggressive communication patterns. You might set a boundary only to have someone disregard it. You might use the broken record technique and still not get the outcome you wanted. These setbacks are not failures, they're opportunities for learning and growth. When you encounter a setback, take a step back and analyze what happened. What can you learn from the situation? How might you approach it differently next time? Use these experiences to refine your techniques and strengthen your resolve. Resilience is key in this journey. It's about getting back up when you fall, about trying again even when it's difficult. Each time you pick yourself up and recommit to your assertiveness goals, you're building not just assertiveness skills, but also character and inner strength. As you continue to practice and refine these skills, you'll likely start to notice changes in various aspects of your life. You might find yourself feeling more confident in social situations. You might notice that your relationships, both personal and professional, become more authentic and satisfying. You might find it easier to pursue your goals and stand up for your beliefs. This is the true power of assertiveness. It's not just about communication techniques, it's about personal empowerment. When you can express your thoughts, feelings, and needs clearly and respectfully, when you can set and maintain healthy boundaries, when you can stand firm in your convictions, you take control of your life in a new way. You become the author of your own story rather than a character in someone else's. You make choices based on your values and desires, not on fear of conflict or desire to please others. You create relationships based on mutual respect and understanding, rather than resentment or unmet needs. In your professional life, assertiveness can open doors you might not have even known existed. You might find yourself more comfortable taking on leadership roles, presenting your ideas with confidence, or negotiating for what you deserve. You might discover that your colleagues and superiors respect you more when you clearly and consistently express your thoughts and boundaries. In your personal life, assertiveness can lead to deeper, more fulfilling relationships. When you can express your needs clearly and listen to others with empathy, you create the foundation for true intimacy and understanding. You might find that conflicts, when they do arise, are resolved more easily and with less emotional turmoil. As you continue to practice the concepts in this book, you'll likely find that assertiveness becomes more natural and effortless. What once required conscious effort and courage will become second nature. You'll find yourself automatically using I statements, setting clear boundaries, and maintaining your position in challenging conversations. This is the power of continued practice. Just as a musician can eventually play complex pieces without conscious thought of each note, you'll be able to navigate complex social situations with ease and grace. Your assertiveness will become a part of who you are, not just something you do. But even as assertiveness becomes more natural, continue to reflect on your journey. Celebrate your successes, no matter how small. Take pride in the moments when you speak up for yourself, when you maintain a boundary, when you navigate a difficult conversation with skill and grace. These moments are testaments to your growth and strength. And always remember why you embarked on this journey in the first place. Assertiveness isn't about winning arguments or getting your way all the time. It's about living authentically, about honoring your own needs and values while respecting those of others. It's about creating a life of integrity where your actions align with your beliefs and desires. As we come to the close of this book, I want to leave you with a final thought. The skills and techniques you've learned here are powerful tools, but the most powerful tool you have is your own authentic self. Your unique voice, your personal boundaries, your individual rhythm, these are what make your assertiveness truly powerful and effective. Your assertive future is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more fully yourself. It's about having the courage to show up in the world as who you truly are, to speak your truth, to honor your needs, to pursue your dreams. It's about creating a life that resonates with your deepest values and aspirations. So as you step forward into your assertive future, carry with you not just the techniques you've learned, but also the knowledge of your own worth. Remember that you have the right to be heard, to be respected, to pursue your goals. Remember that your needs and feelings matter. Your assertive future is bright with possibility. It's a future where you navigate challenges with confidence, where you build relationships based on mutual respect, where you pursue your goals with determination and clarity. It's a future where you are the architect of your own life, designing it according to your own vision and values. This future is not handed to you. It's something you create day by day, choice by choice, interaction by interaction. Each time you speak up, each time you set a boundary, each time you stand firm in your convictions, you're building this future. You're becoming the assertive, authentic person you're meant to be. So step boldly into this future. Embrace the challenges and opportunities that come with living assertively. Trust in your ability to navigate whatever comes your way. You have the tools, you have the knowledge, and most importantly, you have the inner strength and resilience to create the life you truly want. Your assertive future awaits. It's time to claim it. But as you step into this new chapter of your life, you might notice a subtle yet significant challenge emerging. You found your voice, but how do you ensure it's heard in a world full of noise? The art of assertiveness is just the beginning. There's another skill that can amplify your newfound confidence and take your influence to unprecedented levels. Curious about what this game-changing ability might be? The answer lies in mastering the delicate balance of when to speak and when to listen, of how to say more by saying less. To truly unleash the full potential of your assertive self, you need to discover the power of quiet confidence, how to achieve more by saying less. Tap the center of the video now to continue your transformation journey.